Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks and to another tutorial for my beginners course. And in this one I'm going to show you how to do a flat circle, but I'm going to do a couple of videos on this because it depends on the stitch you're using. And so this one I'm going to show you how to do a flat circle using the UK Treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US. And I've done a few different ones to show you the differences. So this one is kind of my favourite one, and it's got a very faint joining line. It's quite difficult to see where the join is. This is the kind of traditional way, and as you can see there is, let's move that, there is a definite line. It's not bad, but you can see that there's a line going up the side, and with this one there's less of a line, but it's still there. So all of these were done in a different way. There's also another reason I've done a few, and that is this one I think, and this one I did in I'll explain as I go, but where the increases are can sometimes make like a hexagon shape, and you get these little corners. Now they're not massively defined on this yarn, but some yarns you can really see where those, because each increase is above another increase, so it kind of, if you can imagine when you're doing the granny square and when you're turning a corner, it makes that little bend, that little corner. So that's what can happen if you do your increases in the same place every time. But you can defeat that by doing them in a different place each time. And so I'm going to show you this way, which is my favourite kind of join, and not putting the increases in the same place, so you don't get that kind of cornering like a hexagon. So we're going to use the magic loop method as well, so I'll show you that. And I'm going to just use this DK weight yarn that I had left over from doing my pumpkin tutorials, and I'm using a 4mm crochet hook for this one because it's not massively thick, and I've got a pair of scissors for ending off. So let's pull out some yarn and we'll get started. Pull out a nice generous amount. Okay, so to start off we're going to make a magic loop. Now I do have beginners tutorials on how to make the magic loop, and it is ever so simple. You might see other tutorials where you've got to wind it round your finger and do all this sort of stuff, but you don't need to. I'm going to zoom in for this because you might need that. So you need to have it this way around, and you just make a loop. So you're just making a loop where this is in the front, the tail yarn is at the back. Okay, now all I do is put my hook in and bring the yarn through and do one chain, and you've done a magic loop. It's finished. That's it, it's done. And you can pull on this to make it looser or tighter, whichever you want. So I'll show you again how I did that, because you know you might not have seen that too many times. So you just make a loop, so the tail yarn is at the back and this yarn is the one at the front. You just pop your hook in and bring the yarn through and do a chain, and you've done your magic loop. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit because that was a little bit close up. We'll go just a bit more in. Okay, so we've got one chain, we need two to get us up to the height of our stitches. Now inside this ring, so working over this tail that's sticking out, we're going to do 12 UK treble crochets or that's a US double crochet. And we've done those before, it's just yarning over, but we go into the center of our loop and it helps to hold the tail and the ring, and yarn over and pull up your loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2, and we're going to do 12 of those all inside here, all over that tail. Okay, so that's 1. Okay, so I've done 4. I'm just going to zoom out because I think it's having a little bit of trouble focusing. Okay, so I'm not going to count out loud. I'm just going to get on and finish doing my 12. So that doesn't include the 2 chain. So you'll have 12 stitches plus your 2 chain. If I go ahead of you, then just pause me and catch up. Just keep an eye on this, and if it looks like it's getting a bit close to the edge, then just give it a tug and pull it closed a little bit. Now I think I've got 2 left. I'm going to do my 2 and then I will count them just to make sure. So I'm going to pull that loop out and I'm just going to count these stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and my 2 chain. So that is my 12. Okay, so those 2 turning chain, we're going to ignore them completely. We're not going to go in, because sometimes you'll be asked to go into the top of your turning chain, but we're just going to ignore them and we're going to go into this stitch here, which is our very first one. So I'll zoom in so that we can see it. We've got, using our hook, our first chain there and our second chain there, and this one, this proper V here, is our stitch. We're just going to go in and do a slip stitch into there, and now we're going to chain 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, and we're going to do 2 in every single stitch around. Okay, I'm just going to undo that a second because I couldn't see, because I've got the camera in the way. I couldn't see the one that I'd gone into. So there we go. I'm going to do my 2 chain, and in this same stitch I'm going to do my 2 UK trebles or US double crochets. And so I've got, looks like I've got 3 stitches in that one, but we ignore those 2 chain. And now I'm going to do the same in every single stitch around. I'm going to do 2 in each one. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit because it's getting larger and I don't want to go off camera because I'm so zoomed in. Okay, so I'm going to carry on doing 2 in each stitch, and I just need to pull out some yarn for a moment. Okay. Right, we'll carry on doing 2 in each one all the way to the end. Whoops. Okay, so sometimes it looks like you've got a stitch at the end, but that is our turning chain. If you ever get confused, don't be worried, just count your stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and the turning chain. So every single round that you do from now on, you're going to gain 12 stitches because we started off with 12, and every single turn of the rounds will give us another 12. Now what we can do now we've got our ring is to pull on this tail that's sticking out from our center, and you can see it closes it up nicely. Now as you're working, it will open, but once you've finished, you just get a darning needle and secure that with a little kind of knot, and then work it back in, and that will stay completely closed. Okay, so we've gone all the way round, and we now need to close up and do our next round. So these are our turning chain, just as before. We've got 1, 2, we ignore those, and we slip stitch straight into the stitch there. Okay, so we're going to do our 2 chain, and we're going to do 2 in that same stitch. That's our first increase of this round. Now in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 on its own. And in the next stitch, we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do 2. And in the next, 1. And we're going to do that all the way around, repeating it. 2 in the next stitch, 1 in the next, and in the next one, 2, and then in the next one, just the 1. And that's what we're going to do all the way around. And as we started with an increase here, we should finish with a single one. So where am I up to? Let's see. I know how to do my increase. If you get confused and you're not sure what you've done, just take a look at it and you can see where you've put 2 in and where you've put 1. So it's easy to spot. So we're now on the increase one. And then 1 on its own. Just carry on with that until we get back to the start again. As I said before, if I go too fast, just pause it and catch up. Okay, so I've got 2 stitches left. So in this one, as I said, is my increase, and I'll finish with the single one all on its own. And don't be tempted to go into there, that's just where we've come out with the chain. Okay, so with that particular round, we've increased by 12 again, and we've done our increase in every other stitch. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to just do what, not go into our turning chain, but we're going to go into the first actual stitch and do our slip stitch. And we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 1 in that stitch this time. We're not going to do our increase in this stitch. So in the last round, we did 1 on its own, and then we did an increase. Well, in this round, we're going to do 2 on its own and do an increase. So in the next stitch, we need to do another 1. And then we're going to increase by, we're going to do a 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 1 in the next 2. And then 2 in the next one. I think I need to pull more yarn again. Just bear with me a sec. I thought I pulled loads. Just goes to show. Alright, so I've got a feeling that I should have done 2 in there. Let's see. Yep, there's my, so I've got to do another 1 in that stitch. As you can see, you've got your increase there, and then there's 2 single ones. And we're going to do that all the way around. Our increase. And then 2 on their own. And then the increase. And then 2 single ones. And we're going to do that all the way around. And just as we started the previous round with an increase, so we finished on a single, this time we started on our single stitches, so we should end on an increase. And that is how this will work out. That's why we won't get the hexagon shape. Well, it'd be more than a hexagon, but we won't get all the little corners. Still feel like I need to pull that yarn. Must be kind of catching on something. Don't know what. I think I've sorted it out now. Okay, so I did an increase in that one. And that's what we're going to do. So it will get a little boring with you watching me do all the way around. So what I want you to do is to do the 2 in one stitch and then the 2 singles all the way around. I'll catch up with you when I get to that very last stitch. Okay, so I'm more or less at the end. I'm going to do my last 2 on their own, and then in my very last stitch is my increase with my 2. Going to ignore my 2 turning chain, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first actual proper stitch, and I'm going to do my 2 chain, and this time I'm going to do an increase into that first stitch. So I'm going to make 2 in there. And now you probably guess what's happening next. On this row we did 1 between, and on this row we did 2 between. So now we're going to put 3 between. So we're going to have 3 on their own. Then the increase. And then 3 on their own. And increase. And we're going to do that all the way around. And this time round, once we get back to the start, because we started on an increase, we'll have 3 on their own. Okay, so we'll do a few more. And as you can see, it's getting a nice curve rather than little corners. So I'm going to pause it again because you'll get really bored watching me go all the way around. And I'm going to carry on doing my increase and then 3 on their own, increase, 3 on their own. And I'll catch up with you when I get back to here. Okay, I'm back on my last bit. So I've got to do my increase. And then my 3 on their own. And again, ignoring the turning chain, I'm gonna insert the hook into the actual stitch and do my slip stitch. And I'm going to do my 2 chain, and I'm going to do a 1 single into that first stitch because we ended on our singles there. No, I'm going to do double, aren't I? I'm going to do it. I'm getting confused myself. No, I did an increase. So I'm going to end with an increase. I'm starting with this. I was right in the first place. Getting confused. Okay. Now you've probably gathered that we end 1 in between. Then we had 2 in between. Then we had 3 in between. So we're going to have 4 in between our increases. So what we're going to do is, ignoring our 2 chain, obviously, there's our first. We're going to do 1 in the next 3, making 4 altogether. There we go, we've got 4 on their own. The 2 chain don't count. And then we're going to do our increase. And then we're going to do 4 on their own. And then we're going to do our increase. And we're going to do that all the way around, just as before. 4 on their own. And then the increase. So I'm going to pause it again, and I'll catch up with you when I get back to the beginning again. Okay, so we're always back again to the start. I've done my increase. I'm going to do my 4. And because we started on our singles, we've got our increase at the very end. Whoops. Now that's all I'm going to do. As with these ones, I just finished at this particular point. But if you were to carry on, if you do a pattern for maybe a hat, you might, depending on the size or the yarn that you're using, you might have to do another round, or if you're doing a larger circle. So obviously every time you go up to the next level, you're doing another one. So we started with 1 in between our increases, then we were 2, then 3, now we've got 4, the next one would be 5, the next one would be 6, and so on. So now all it needs to do is to ignore those turning chain and slip stitch into our first proper stitch, cut the yarn, and we'll do a chain, cinch it down and pull it through to end off. And there we have it. And that one has the least visible seam, and there are no nasty kind of corners around the outside, because we've done our increases at different parts, so you can't see the hexagonal shape appearing. So let's just talk about the magic loop for a minute. There are people who can't get on with it, and you know, unfortunately, even easy ones sometimes stump us, don't they? So there are other things you can do. Now, some people, they'll do 2 chain. Okay, so there's my slip knot. I know I don't do it the same way as everybody else, but they'll do 2 chain, and then they'll work in this chain. So they'll do all their stitches into there. I don't like that method at all. If I ever tried it, it makes that kind of chain very big, and I've not been impressed. So this way is another way, and that is just to make, say, 4 chain, slip stitch into the beginning, the first chain. So you make a ring, do your 2 chain. Actually, I'm getting carried away with myself. You need to have more chain, because obviously we're doing 12 stitches, so I didn't do enough. So maybe we'll do 6. And then we're going to slip stitch into the beginning to form our ring. And we'll do our 2 chain, and then we'll do our 12 into this loop. We're working over the tail as we go. We're doing our stitches into that big loop that we've created, and working over the tail. Now that is important, that you're working over the tail. I've lost count, but I don't think I've done anywhere near 12 yet. I'll need to count them in a second though. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we just do another 3. Making sure we're still working over the tail. If you can master the magic loop, it is by far better to do it that way. So there's our chain. We're ignoring those, remember, 1 and 2. We're slip stitching into our first proper stitch, doing our chain and our stitch into there. So just imagine we're carrying on with that. Now you've got this tail hanging out from all these, and you just give it a tug and you can pull it nice and tight. You can't get it as tight as a magic loop, but you can get it pretty tight, and then all you've got to do is sew that up, but you won't get it quite as snug as that. But that is another way. If you really can't get on with it, you can just work over the tail, pull it, and then you have to do your little trick with your darning needle. Make a little kind of knot so that it doesn't come undone, and then weave it through. So it will be kind of snug, but you can't pull it as tight as you can with a magic loop. But just a little aside there if you do struggle with that. But I think my method is very simple, and if you persevere, you should definitely be able to do it. So anyway, that's how we do, well, how I do a flat circle with a UK treble, US double crochet. Not everybody does it the same way, but that's my preferred method. So thanks for watching. Stay safe and take care. And on the next one, I'll show you another flat circle with another stitch, because I do them differently for the half treble, which is half double, and also for the UK double, which is a single crochet in the US. So I'll show you all of those. Not all at once, but we'll do them one at a time. Okay, bye for now.